about
None of them have been born
tak
here.
apalah ceritalah. Well,
Tak
you know
lahir
lah,
lagi.
ni Tok Wan ceritakan kat cucu kan. So this Tok Wan in 1979 went and did the first documentation. I was shocked to learn about this very deep-rooted tradition that is almost gone. So after I gave him the documentation, I went to University of Michigan and I did a double PhD in musicology and in Asian studies. So it was a tough program, but I wrote my thesis on the heritage of Zapin Johor that you can read from Oxford University Press. That was history. And because of that lah, eventually the government or state of Johor, Kerajaan Johor merujuk kepada naskah saya itu. It was published in 1993. And then revitalization. Revitalization bermulalah. Revitalization ini pelestarian, pemugaran bermula di Johor. Dan saya bersama mereka, maka kami membangunkan Zapin Johor sampai apa yang ada hari ini. Itu sejarahnya.
Thank you. That's so bukan main-main. 24 Zapin just in Johor alone. So I think it's kind of a full circle for me sebab arwah father I last time tahun 2000 tu Prof began under Yayasan Warisan Johor the Zapin movements and the Zapin activities, empowering schools to start Zapin dancers, learning dancing of Zapin in Johor. So it's a pleasure today for me, right? So Tengku, from the chat we had earlier, I think being born and being raised in a very culturally rich environment is an advantage. And from the millennial standpoint, from the youth, yeah, can, of course, from the millennial standpoint, from the youth, what's your observation and how do you see the heritage and the culture can really be amplified and embraced by the current generation? Yeah.
Thank you, Katie. Assalamualaikum and selamat pagi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I want to say, just take this advantage nak katakan congratulations, Tahniah Pak Nik Faiz, Adli and semua orang for putting on such a great show. Yeah, Prof, actually that was very nice to hear and thank you for that. I'm learning a lot. So a little bit about me. I grew up very close to my almarhumah grandmother, who was Tuanku Sultan Yahya punya daughter, first daughter, anak pertama. So the current Sultan of Kelantan, Sultan Yahya, is the grandfather of the current Sultan of Kelantan. So I was the first grandchild, first great-grandchild juga. A lot of my upbringing was really done, you know, in being really involved. So every single year, I akan tengok di Kibarat, Mak Yong, and I akan attend all these events Pujomo. So orang Kelantan akan tahu ada pintu gerbang every year. Then, yeah, I see Nik Faiz nodding his head. So dia tahu, dia faham lah. And ada garden party semua tu. So tiap-tiap tahun memang I akan selalu dengar the sound of the Surunai. And sekarang ni, I always cakap kat semua orang, every time I hear Surunai, I akan ingat masa I grew up. It's also this thing about how macam kita pakai baju, even I think to a certain extent the bahasa, the food and everything else. And I don't know, I think macam I really had an awakening when I went to uni, and I rasa macam, okay, I see a lot of very young faces here, so I rasa semua orang ni probably kat uni kan. And I really can tell you that masa you kat uni, when you are not with your mom, you leave your house, you start to realize siapa sebenarnya diriku. And one of the aspects and things that you need to really realize and find is your own identity. And one of it is how you akan fikir kembali macam mana you grew up, apa influence your kampung, your rumah, your mother, your grandmother, and you would start to realize penting lah sebenarnya benda-benda ni, because that is what makes me different than another person. So for me, walaupun, I mean, going back to your question kan, Katie, ada banyak aspek yang macam, oh okay, you know, you nak belajar benda, you need to find your path, blah blah blah. Tetapi when you're trying to find your path, never ever forget you have to look back when you grew up, because that is what's going to bring you forward. That is your identity. And yeah, you know, I grew up, I had a very big advantage, but it's no different than what I have for me to you guys as well, because you guys also grew up with heritage. You guys also grew up in history.
Correct.
Kehidupan kampung tu bukan semua orang boleh merasa.
Ya,
As how
betul.
for me kehidupan istana, not everyone can feel, but
Right.
to each their own.
Yeah.
I hope that kind of in a way
Yes,
answers your
yes.
question.
So that's very interesting. The fact that how you're brought up, itu juga budaya you punya culture, heritage, it makes your identity, right? So when you leave the nest, you bila tinggalkan rumah you, tinggalkan rumah mak ayah, masa tu you start mencari identity. So our culture and our heritage is what's going to form. And just to bring this up again, Tengku Qistina is actually the granddaughter of Tunku Abdul Rahman, our Bapa Kemerdekaan. So I think in that sense, like I discussed with Prof. Anis, knowing that in itself, that knowledge itself is something interesting. I think Prof. Anis mentioned something about, in some interesting point about Tengku as well. That perhaps it's kind of, bring everything to full circle.
Okay lah, beginilah. Okay, something that I want to be, I'm very passionate about one thing tau. That kita kadang-kadang, all of us, especially the Gen Alpha, Gen Y, kita selalunya keadaan dalam kebingungan because sometimes we hear so many things on social media and then we have no idea nak believe ke tak believe. Tetapi selalunya kita tengok berapa ramai orang yang follow. So based on that kita believe lah. Itu yang tak guna social media ni. So kalau influencer tu dapat garner so many followers, you tend to believe. That's a trick to be a good influencer. What I'm worried about is you guys. I look into you all my cucu level ni. I wonder whether we can still be we. And we are in the near future when yourself will have children. That they will be able to keep our heritage.
Yeah.
Right? This is the point I'm going to before I go to arwah Tengku Abdul Rahman because he is a brilliant man. He's a man ahead of his time. So before I go to that, I want to communicate this. Pertamanya, you look at yourself. We are all dressed up very casually and we enjoy it very much. Yeah? But we sometimes only use our traditional clothing untuk 2 kali saja. Sekali untuk orang ajak kahwin, keduanya bila ada orang meninggal. You know, I mean that's all you use. And then other than that you tinggal dalam almari, right? And then you see now the evolution of the tudung which have gone into the jilbab, into the hijab. Then orang dah tak pakai kelengkan. You know, technically zaman dulu, masa zaman Tengku Abdul Rahman, zaman saya, wanita Melayu memakai dulu anak tudung warna hitam atau warna putih. Rambut tak terlepas. Okay, dia pakai anak tudung, right? Lepas dia pakai anak telkung tu, baru dia pakai kain selendang atau kelingkan. Sekarang kita ni very fast and efficient. Selum aja dah habis, balut-balut. Nah? So remember that whatever we do, as we invent and create, we have to keep it going. Because Tengku Abdul Rahman, when I was young, when he was moving around, I was born before independence. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I was born before independence. I was in English school. I was in English school, of course, a Penang boy. So very Anglophile, all by memory. Growing up every day was about Jack and Jill and the snow and the red pill box and all those things about London. And because Penang punya area in front is almost like that. Now, Tengku Abdul Rahman was a man who embodies everything that is crucial to the living being. He was a great sportsman. He dribbled the ball very, very well. He's very musical in his thinking. He loves to listen to wonderful music. And he does the ronggeng, which is a social dance. Zaman dulu, ronggeng bukan perkara buruk. Ronggeng is to be together and you just move a few steps, you enjoy the music, you exchange pantun. Masa Tengku Abdul Rahman masa he was in residence, any event that was done then in the 1960s, I remember every event that was done has to have the social gathering of sound, music. Pasal apa sound? Sound is crucial to memory,
Yeah.
If you don't remember the sound, you grow up
that's
only
true.
with sound that's alien to you, yang datang from other parts of the world. You cannot deliberately tell your children what the sound is. Got me? Sebab itu kalau kita nak halwa mata, halwa telinga, dua penting. Hawa rasa tak payah ajar. Kau nampak hawker store, kau pergi kat situ dah. Itu number 3, I'm not concerned. My concern is how to develop the memory block. Masa Tengku Abdul Rahman, he embodies it And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you are what race whatsoever. You can wear in any baju. And always there is event. And that was the time, 1960s, when this idea of social music and dancing was at the peak. At the peak. Before politicians started to label what is halal, what is haram, what is makruh, what is mubah, what is whatever not. So I urge all of you, because you're all here representing the younger generation, to think out of the box and not terlalu terikut dengan sosmed, because sosmed can also make you mad. So you must be careful about sosmed, be critical,
that's
and
true.
be selective. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. That's very true. Tengku, so on your side, right, you've involved as well in some sort of preservation work or in the policy making, especially empowering women artisans in Kelantan. So you can share a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I think without a doubt, kita semua akan like cuba buat as much as we can where we want and where we can untuk memperkukuhkan and also to preserve. But at the same time, it is also, I mean, there are two levels kan. You have the on the surface level, you boleh buat setakat mana yang mampu. It's like that saying, you know, like you teach a man to fish. No, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, and it goes a long way. So you know, you do as much as you can. I think in the past I tried. I remember this is arwah Prof from UiTM, and he came to my mother. Dia kata, you know, Tengku Puan, budak-budak tak ada motivation nak buat textile. Macam mana kita nak memperkukuhkan and to uplift it. So I managed to get in touch dengan Andrew yang buat KL Fashion Week. So I think for 2 tahun, we tried to do something. This was before COVID lah, of course kan. And we managed to get the batik on the runway in KL Fashion Week to make it more presentable, to make it more modern. But actually, Prof, like, sorry KD, I wanted to go back a bit more over what Prof Zaini said. Prof Anis said. Sorry Prof, I have allergic reaction pagi ni, so mata I like macam bengkak sikit.
Thank you.
But
Anyway,
no worries. So that's why I was a bit late. Sorry, maaf ya. But I find it very interesting, and Prof cakap, I mean, you study, you've dedicated your whole life to zapin, joget, menari. I kind of also want to bring up, I'm sorry Katie, this is like really not part of the script. Tapi in terms of performing arts as a whole kan di Malaysia, thank you. And it's that thing about kita kat Malaysia ni, we have so many performing arts. Kita ada zapin, we also have the traditional ones yang sangat controversial. Tapi in the times that I have been attending all these shows kan, Mak Yong, Main Teri, Kuda Kepang, semua ni, I have been really curious about dia banyak aspek kemelayuan di sana, dan juga to a certain extent aspek Islam. So dia katakan, I mean,
That's
Prof,
true.
you are the learned and more knowledgeable than me. Obviously, I'm just an armchair intelligence. So this is a term I'm going to share with you guys. So it's called armchair intelligence lah. You duduk dekat kerusi you, you belajar, you tengok TV tu je, which I guess now is your social media intelligence lah kan. And it's that thing about how pada zaman dahulu, kita kena sedar yang kita ni part of, kita semua duduk dekat kampung, kat sawah padi. Entertainment like what Prof kata tak ada.
Tak ada,
So the only thing that we have to entertain ourselves is memang this performing arts culture, joget, menari and all these things. And I just kind of want to get your insight juga Prof kan, macam what is the cultural value and kenapa, and to a certain extent, bagaimanakah all these performing arts dia masuk dalam untuk shape our identity. Sebab setengah orang pun kata it actually helps with your mental health and self-care.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
Very good.
Yeah.
That's just nice, cool, because we're just about to ask Prof to elaborate on the philosophy of zapin too.
Okay, let me go more let me go more generic. You all kena respond tau. You all jangan tengok kita orang macam sales price dekat branded shop and then harga mahal tak beli. So you don't just go
branded shop. Okay.
Begini all of you listen. When we talk about the arts, kita ada performing arts, kita ada visual arts, kita ada craft and arts, all kinds of stuff. Now, the question came about this very crucial question. Kita selalunya terdamba dengan soalan, adakah itu suatu yang halal atau melanggar akidah? That's an issue we have today. Bagus, it helps a lot. But let me ask you one thing, if you want to be philosophical about it, sifat Tuhan itu berapa? If you are learned here. Sifat Tuhan ada berapa? If you remember, saya belajar dulu. Okay. Hitung. Okay, you count. You will not finish. But one of the sifat Tuhan, you see Allah tidak ada bentuk dan rupa, right?
Benar.
Allah tak ada bentuk dan rupa, maka Allah memberikan pada kita bagaimana kita menggambarkan sifatnya.
Yes,
Salah satu sifat yang luar biasa ialah keindahan. That God is so indah. That God is not human, right? God is so indah. Whatever is indah to you right now is just a minor 0.5 milligram of the actual indah of God is.
True.
Right. So salah satu hal yang kita perlu buat dalam hidup ialah zikir. Adahar. Berzikir. Zikir ni bukan duduk di kursi subhanallah walhamdulillah wala ilaha illallah berbelaga orang tak. No. Adahar is supposed to be during your heartbeat, you say Allah. You develop the zik. Jadi tak payah nak bawa time, nak kira berapa ribu. Don't do that. You learn. Naik tangga tu subhanallah. Allah. That's zik, right? Now one of the most powerful zikir